Three, two, one. Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Ben Jaye, and we are back with another episode of the Creators Lounge podcast, episode 49. So this episode is a bit unique because for the first time, I'm going out of my way to kind of shift the direction of what the podcast is going. So in the past, all the episodes have focused nearly exclusively on musicians and music makers. And I'm at a point right now where I'm trying to diversify my content and just share stories from more creatives. Because if you think about it, no one only consumes. All of us are creating something in some way. And I'm really excited to start this kind of new direction, or at least test it out, with a very dear friend of mine who is with us today, because she is an incredible creative spirit in her own right, and she's done amazing things with her life. She's done amazing things with her creative energy, and she's learned incredible lessons that have impacted the people around her, and now the people on the internet as well, myself included. So we'll be getting into a lot of things today. We'll give you guys some context on who she is, what she does. We're going to look at some of the amazing experiences she's been through throughout her life, and some of the projects she's working on even these days and going into the future. But before we dig into it, let's have her introduce herself. All right, Anna, give us the quick intro. What is your name? Where are you from, and what do you do?
Hi, everybody. My name is Anna Ng. I actually live in Boston, Massachusetts, and I work in the financial services field. And I also am a food writer for a local community paper for 12 years.
Amazing. Now, just saying that short introduction does not even give a hint of all the things you've actually done throughout your life, Anna. So let's start with a little bit of an origin story. If you go back to your childhood, what was your childhood like for yourself? Where did you begin? How did you start to get onto your own feet, just like in your childhood years?
I'm Chinese American. And so my parents moved around Massachusetts, and we settled actually around the age of 9 in Cape Cod, and my parents opened a restaurant. So as many Asian American immigrants, especially Chinese Americans, they settled in the restaurant industry because that's something that they're able to do. Also, it doesn't matter about your education. So my parents are from China, and I'm the first generation that was born and raised in America. I did, as a lot of Chinese Americans, children work in the restaurant, and so child labor laws do not apply when you're a child of immigrant parents. So I did start at a tender age. I'm afraid to say that's a little too younger than 15, let's put it that way, many years younger. But I think back to it now, those years for me to be who I am in terms of a hardworking person. I actually joke around with my friends that I'm actually quote unquote lazier than I was when I was younger, because even in my teen years, I worked like 2 or 3 jobs. It was not uncommon, and I was very industrious, but I also loved studying. Unlike a lot of, tiger parents or moms, as they say, my mom did not do that with me. I guess I was very ambitious and very self-driven in that aspect, because I think for a lot of those certain situations, do you want that as your life for the rest of your life? And I definitely did not foresee myself being in the restaurant business, owning my parents' restaurant for the rest of my life. Nothing against it. It helped me be the person I am, but it also is not something that I wanted to have that life, because having your own business is very difficult. You're there all the time, and you really have to give up on a lot of activities in your life to give out that energy for your business. So I respect all business owners, especially small business owners, for the life that they do and provide for those loved ones.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and that's one of the things I've always found interesting about you and me is even though I'm not in your situation, I can't claim to be whatsoever. That was also something I got to witness firsthand. One of the first jobs I had, this was back in the States, was working at a Chinese restaurant ran by Chinese immigrants, right? It was like a husband-wife team, and they had 2 children as well. And yeah, their story is amazing. I won't dig into it too deep, but they have an amazing story as well. And so I got to be in that environment firsthand. Obviously, I'm not in your situation like actually being part of the family, but I was able to be around it 24/7, and they kind of adopted me into the family in their own special way that made me feel loved. But hearing the things you're
Oh,
talking
I
about,
love that.
it is right. It makes you it's cool, and I had to earn my stripes, by the way.
Oh,
For
you don't easily get the family treatment easily. You have to earn it, and I respect that, and I respect you for that. I think there's a lot about you that I appreciate and resonate with you, and it's always wonderful to have conversations with you.
Well, I'm going to ask you about it more, Anna, because, like you said, the story that you shared is also shared by many other people in the States and probably worldwide as well. Being the child of immigrants and growing up in the restaurant, like there's thousands of people who have that same experience, but not everyone comes out of it the same way. And so something I would ask you is, first of all, what were some of the key lessons you learned from growing up in the restaurant? Because like you said, and again, I'm kind of putting my own experience onto you and tell me if I'm wrong, but the people I worked for, their business was their life. They were spending legitimately, 10, 11, 12 hours a day at the restaurant. And then even outside of the restaurant, they were shopping for food for the restaurant or doing preparations or idea planning for it. So, altogether it's like 15, 16-hour days for them. And that can really shape someone either in a positive or negative way. What kind of effect did it have on you? What kind of lessons did you take away from it?
That's a good question. I never really formally thought about the lessons that I had, but it's true. Since you have a little microscope or sense of what their life was, it was for my parents as well. We were there. If it wasn't 24/7, I think our day off was basically buying supplies, going to Boston, and then doing a little bit of time for our personal um, activities. Or if we came home late, they would watch Chinese videos that they'd have from, back of the homeland, to watch drama and entertainment to take some of the stress away. But those times, I have to say that one is to multitask. I think to learn to multitask is okay. Before even that was a major term. Two is to organize or prioritize your time well, and making sure that you're prepared, because that's things that are important. And three is to be clear on what you need to do as well, like a vision of what you need to do. The reason why I say all these things is because every day there's certain tasks, right? So I would always have a clear vision. Okay, I need to have these tasks done. We call it quote unquote sidewalk, which is food prep. So I was doing skewering teriyaki. I was chopping onions, vegetables, deveining shrimp. I was, doing all those things, deboning chicken breast meat every week. We're talking not 1 or 2 pounds. We're talking 30, 40 pounds of the stuff, and 20 pounds of onions. So let's just say when I started peeling onions and chopping onions, I didn't cry to that point. Now I do, but it definitely got me stronger and better. I also cooked, and I did a lot of the appetizer stuff and food prep stuff for my father. He handled the walk, and then I had to also answer the phone, clean tables, bus, order stuff. So I was like jack of all trades, but it was just my parents and myself. We didn't have a staff person, because being on the Cape was hard. Part of it was hard to hire people because you have to get someone from Boston, and that's another thing entirely. But financially, it was not always feasible because we are a small family restaurant. Yeah, that was an experience that definitely shaped me a big time, in terms of being able to do a lot of activities at once and also be focused, but also realize that, hard work does work. And also working with your parents, it formed a relationship with them that love hate a little bit, if I'll say. My father was a stickler, but also a lot of the good habits I have in the kitchen are from him. And I didn't realize how good I had it with him and how good habits he had until I worked at other kitchens, Chinese restaurants, or other places, or even the owners after my parents. So there's a lot of things that resonate or come back in my life now that I learned at that time.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if that helps.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, I love everything you said. I think it's interesting because the more I talk with humans, the more I kind of see the same values popping up, the same
Mm-hmm.
lessons popping up, and then we just applied them in different ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
it also depends on the personality, what works for you versus what doesn't work for you. You talk about multitasking, I completely relate with that. I love to multitask. I have to multitask. That's how I operate. But
Mm-hmm.
it's funny because literally before we recorded this, I was creating essays, which and the essay
Yes.
topic for some of the kids was about multitasking. So some of them were saying I love it, some of them were saying I hate it. So
Right.
we all use the same kind of values and lessons and approaches, but we use them in different ways and with different personalities. I guess my question to you as well, Anna, is, I recognize the lessons you learned. I agree with the lessons you learned. It's been the same way for me. Now, on the other hand, there's definitely going to be people who struggle to accept those lessons or struggle to recognize the benefits of their hard situation growing up in that kind of environment, right? Resentment, discontentment,
Mm-hmm.
dissatisfaction, both with their
Mm-hmm.
life, but also towards their parents or the people that were in their
Mm-hmm.
life directly. What was it like for you to maybe you didn't have to coming to terms with the relationship you had with your parents in the restaurant, and how hard it was for you to be pushing yourself at a young age, and as you got older continuing to be in that kind of lifestyle? Was there any resentment at all, and how did you deal with it?
That's funny that you mentioned that because I'm not a saint. I'm a human being. And I did have resentment. I did have disappointment. I did have sadness as well. And some pain too. Um, because my brother and my sister, I have younger siblings, did not really have to play an active role. When I think back of it, I was the one who did a lot. So there was some resentment. There was some sadness. Uh, there's a few stories I can share. One in particular is because the restaurant was our livelihood, there's things I could not take part in. And there was a field trip I remember vividly, I think in middle school, where everyone was going to Mount Monadnock for a hiking trip. I couldn't go because I had to go stay back, do homework, but also go to the restaurant at night. And so when they came back, it wouldn't be in time for me to get back for the restaurant. I was a little resentful, I'm not going to lie, because I couldn't go on the field trip with everybody. There are a lot of events I couldn't go to because of my parents' restaurant. Some violent performances or some like activities that I wanted to be a part of, or maybe like plays because I had to be at the restaurant. And I remember when I asked why, my mom said to me, "It's our livelihood. We need to have a roof over your head, food on the table. That's it. There's no ifs, ands, whats about it. It's pretty much an ultimatum." And yeah, if I'm going to say I was happy all the time, I'd be lying to you. But on the other hand, it really made me the person I am, as I said earlier. And then seeing my sister's 6 years younger, so she never was able to be of age to help out. Also, she was very coddled and she's the favorite of my father. And my brother's the boy. They tried to help him help, but I guess maybe he's smart. He just didn't want to do the task well. So it just all ended up on me and on my shoulders to do things. And it was stressful trying to carry decent grades, in classes, as well as go to school on very little sleep. In the summers, when I was able to finally legally work, like 15 or I think it was in the supermarket after school, and then I'd go to my parents' restaurant. Then weekends, and then some summers, I remember before I went to college and during college, I that's when my parents didn't have the restaurant, but when they did, I would work 3 jobs. I remember one summer I did 3 jobs. It's a little crazy. My day off was no day off. It's like not working at one job. Instead of 3 jobs, I'd be working at 2 jobs. So including my parents' place. So in that sense, I feel that I just didn't want to be in that life. I mean, I respect all those who have restaurants, but it's not the life I wanted. And when people say, "Oh, you love to cook or you love food, you should open your own place." God love the people in the food services business because I've been there and I don't envy them at all whatsoever. I'd rather cook for my beloved friends and that's it. And I have that satisfaction. I think I'm okay with that. And so those who want to share their food and their love of food with everybody, bless their hearts because that's something I don't want to go back to. The multitasking and all the cooking. And it is food is showing love. I think someone recently had an Instagram story saying, what is do you think the ultimate showing of love is cooking for people or not? And I said, yes, it is. Cooking for people is a love language. It is showing your time, your heart, your energy. You're inviting them to your home. It totally is the ultimate. One of the ultimate gifts is cooking for people that you love.
Oh my gosh, and yeah, that was some powerful words there. It's something that's kind of been on my mind lately. Just part of observation, self-observation, but also observation of people around me, and
Hmm.
that is that to truly succeed in any sort of endeavor, you've really got to go all in on it, right? You've really got to devote yourself to the ambition you're chasing. And
True.
and I don't have it figured out completely yet. It's something I'm still kind of looking at it and thinking about, because on one side, yeah, go out all out, push yourself to the max, break through the walls to make it to where you want to be, and then on the other
Hmm.
side, living that kind of lifestyle, you're very susceptible to burnout and
Yes.
dissatisfaction and losing interest, right? And so there's a
Yes.
part of it where it's also about, where do I fit in self-care, where do I fit in these kind of things. And I guess I want to ask your thoughts on this as well, Anna, because yeah, I mean, just given that, right? The fact that if you really want to make it at one of these things, at something, whether it's music or fashion or a restaurant, like, you really do have to go all in on it. And I don't know, what are your
Hmm.
thoughts on this, Anna? Do you think that there's a way to blend the all out with self-care approach, or do you think it's one or the other? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
It's interesting that you asked that because I struggle with that. And when I was at that time, especially, self care was that it did not exist. So it's funny how the phenomenon of self care has become more prominent in society. And I think people are getting burned out that need to have this self care movement, I would say, or I feel like it's a movement. I think it's amazing that we have it. I think it's amazing that we are talking about it because, frankly, it's not something we talked about because it's all about more having pride in your work ethic, working crazy hours, 50, 60, 80 hours. But we're not talking about taking a break. We're not talking about taking a vacation to reset your mind or doing things that feed you emotionally or feed you to relax. Um, so I think you can blend the two. Now, but I guess it's dependent upon the person's and the personality and how and what methods they do it, right? So putting yourself all in is very vital in anything or any task you're doing because that will get you to your goal faster. Also, it will allow you to be more focused. So I think it's important to be that way. But also, too, if you have that focus and you have that attention to that, I think it's amazing. It's a gift because not everyone has that ability. Hey, Ben, I'm still trying to figure out at times what I want to be when I grow up. So it doesn't matter what your age is. It's always a classic question because I remember reading an old article years back saying you switch careers 5 times in your life. I don't know now if maybe switch more. So if you do that in your life, that's okay. And frankly, it's more of societal expectations or thinking that we take on, and then we have to feel comfortable with our reaction or how we think of these things and how we deal with it. Because let me tell you, since college and high school, I have not exactly been doing everything my parents' expectations to their sadness or maybe to their not agreeing with me. But I think they've come to terms because I've had to make them come to terms. But going back to self care, I think it's very important. Whether if you integrate a few seconds, a few moments or minutes, anyone can do that. It's, I think, like something simple as giving yourself 5, 10 minutes, deep breathing, inhaling, exhaling, diaphragmic. I think that's very important. That sets your mind or clearing your mind at the same time. I think that for me helps. I admit I'm not the best diaphragm breather, like a lot of people. And meditation, I've been tackling or struggling with that for years. I admit my mind goes like gazillion miles a minute, so clearing my mind is not easy as well. But the little bit I try or attempt, I do find it soothing. Also, when I'm doing something at home, I like to have candles or something that smells pleasant potpourri or something that, certain scents that you put in the air that helps me a lot. Um, there are a lot of devices for self massage that are available nowadays that I've bought. I bought a lot of them. Don't, I mean, it's no kidding. I got this pillow that I can reheat and I can put on my shoulders. I think I have a lot of typical stresses like anyone is for sitting too long because I have a desk job. And I find that those work. They're just short-term fixes, but they're better than not dealing with it at all. Because I didn't realize how stressed I am until I use these things. Like, oh my gosh, my muscles are tight. Oh my gosh, I'm not doing this. And realizing that eating healthily or eating things that you like, and I do like junk food, so I do impart in junk food, but I try to not eat junk food and be healthier in terms of like maybe having certain drinks or smoothies. Those I find help me as well. but I think also is very nourishing is talking to people, being around people that energize you, that make you feel better, that make you feel positive, are very helpful too. I mean, there's a lot I can go on, but those are just things I think about. And I consciously do things that make me feel good. So let's be honest, we're all selfish human beings. We want to get something from everything. And in the case of me sending cards and correspondence to my friends, which is I'm known for out of all my friends, is I'm selfish in the sense of I just want to send out that love and that joy and emotion to my friends through cards and communication. So that's me in my way sending it out. But gratefully, and I'm grateful that my friends appreciate it and they appreciate the time and effort that I do that too. So those are just a few things that just came off the top of my head.
Oh my gosh, Anna, that's amazing. I'm glad you mentioned all of those things. They're very practical. They're very, very practical, and that's important, right? Because talking about change or self-care or self-development can be a very sort of philosophical perspective. It's not realistic to a lot of people. The terms we use, the phrases we use, like self-care, like, what does that mean? But like you said,
Yep.
whenever you're looking at stuff in a practical sense, there's things you can do. This is silly. I started using this pillow to help my back, to keep my back a little more cushioned and more straight.
Good for you.
Or like
Something
you mentioned,
simple like that.
yeah,
Exactly.
so
Something like
pillows, massage machines, all these different things can fit into your daily life. It's not just about, what are you doing, once a week or once a month. It's like stuff you can do every day that helps you. And same as you, like the breathing, deep breathing. I do the Wim Hof breathing method like nearly every single day. Exercise, cold showers. Like you have to find those things you can fit into your daily life that make your lifestyle sustainable. And I try to use that word as much as I can, sustainable, because it's easy I think for both of us, hearing from what you've said, and I know other people as well, whenever you're in that kind of grind mindset, it's like, hustle, very, very
Yes.
focused, and every day just, you forget about the sustainability of it all. And so you end up crashing or having those, unexpected off days or days you fall sick because you haven't been taking care of yourself. So completely agree with everything you said, Anna. Fit the self-care into your daily life, the small things you can do in a couple of minutes or within an hour that help you feel better that day. It's incredibly important. Now, you mentioned letters, and I want to jump into that. But before we do, I was going to ask you about FOMO real quick, fear of missing out. And you've kind of dropped your thoughts on it already before, with missing the field trips and missing the performances and such. And I'm really curious if you could give us a little more thoughts on that, because it's something that so many people struggle with in this day and age, especially with the internet, where you can see what other people are doing and start comparing yourself to them. Do you have any more thoughts to share on the topic of FOMO? Do you deal with it as an adult? How have you kind of negated the negative effects of it all? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
It's funny that you ask about FOMO. I had major FOMO growing up because there's things that I wasn't able to do being stuck at my parents' restaurant. So you're very right. I had FOMO. So I added YOLO in my life once I went to college and I was away from my parents' clutches. Don't get me wrong, I love my parents, but it felt like clutches because immigrant daughter, female, Asian, they were very strict. I couldn't do sleepovers. They were very strict about me going out, who I went out with, as friends, dating. What's that? That didn't exist. That you're supposed to study, study, study. My parents were the typical, you're supposed to study, but then when you're done with school, they expect you to have a boyfriend out of nowhere. Which there's this meme that I saw. I started laughing because it was so true. Okay, school, good grades, and then when you're done with college, they expect you to have a boyfriend out of nowhere and get married and have kids. So it just doesn't make sense. It's like they tell you you're not supposed to have a boyfriend, but then they expect you to find a boyfriend easily. So you need some time to find a boyfriend. You need some time to meet them. You just don't get them by just studying, and your nose to the grindstone. So I just thought that was hilarious. I wanted to travel. I think because my parents were working, the working class. I think we're working class, blue collar, small business owner. I really, really wanted to travel. I really, really want to do a lot of things. And I feel that having that FOMO and then going to college, making great friends and seeing their lives and seeing the things that they did, I thought, wow. And the few people that I did become close to did appreciate my work ethic. They did appreciate my personality and how I struggled, but also how I succeeded in going to where I went to school. And I realized a little bit of more about, I can do YOLO. What's wrong with that? The day I asked my mom to get my passport, she would not let me have it I had to say, Mom, I need another form of identification for work, which is true. I needed a driver's license and a passport. But my mother also is a wise woman. She knew I wanted to travel. And I remember I traveled to London and Paris easily within a few months after getting my passport. Didn't tell my parents. And years later, I confessed to my mom. And you know what she said? She's like, you wouldn't be my daughter if you didn't used to go travel. Even if she didn't tell me. So I thought I was being all secretive and not telling my mother. She knew. She's like, of course I know my own daughter. I gave birth to you, as she always says. So I started making my own, YOLO. FOMO, though, definitely, I was like a typical person like anyone else is I'd wait for my friends to do activities. And until one day, after many friends canceling all the time, I thought to myself, why am I waiting? Why am I not doing the stuff I want to do? What's holding me back? Myself. Oh, duh. So I thought, well, then I'm going to do it. If people are not available, that's okay. I can still do it. Getting over that discomfort was really mind-blowing for me. And that's within maybe a few months of graduating from college, because I was always doing stuff with my friends. I was never alone. Also, my roommate wasn't my friend, really close friend. So she was kind of a little distant. She was a Japanese student learning English and going to undergrad. It took a year for her to be close to me. That's another story entirely. But it was something that I realized I can do everything I want to do. Even going to Hawaii, I remember there's a time I went to Hawaii, my friend, and she said in a good, kind place saying, oh, you should do it for your honeymoon. Well, I'm not married. I don't have a husband right now, and I never went on my honeymoon. If I waited for that advice, I'd be sitting doing nothing. So I'm glad I did. I'm glad I backpacked through Europe. I'm glad I did a lot of plays, museums, art exhibits, and enriched my life because of that, and made amazing friends at the same time. So I don't feel I have FOMO anymore as much. Now, if I do have FOMO, it's because Instagram and Twitter and these TikTok is because they're traveling and they're eating and they're seeing and doing things that are amazing. So I'm not going to lie, I'm drooling, but then I'm putting in the back of my head, okay, I got to go there, or okay, I got to try to do this. So that's for me what I'm trying to do, especially the pandemic. Oh my gosh, FOMO galore, because especially for those of us stuck in lockdown, and there are parts of the world that people they are living their lives, normal lives, through other people because of lockdown or their current situation. But don't give up hope, because we all will move past this. So it's just, I don't know how long, much longer, but we will. I'm very confident we will, because historically we always have. So it's just waiting for that time.
I just want to clap with your thoughts on FOMO. Like, my gosh, I love that. Do it yourself. Do it now. Like, that's like the best mindset to have. Yeah, you're right, Anna. Like, there's so many. We have to question it. I think that's the key thing about problems and issues is that, and it's something I've tried to build over the last several months, if not a year, of like seeing problems not as a problem, seeing problems as an opportunity, right? And so, like,
yes.
And having a practice of that, of like, what's my problem? And then for me, it's about journaling or writing, because even though I think all the time, it's not always productive. And so whenever I have a problem I can't break through mentally, I have to grab up my iPhone and start writing down, okay, here's my problem. Why am I feeling this way? And start typing down all the potential things that just come to mind immediately of like why I would be feeling this way. And so I think it's a great practice for FOMO as well. Like you said, you're like, why do I have FOMO? Oh, because my friends are canceling on me because I'm not doing the things I want to do, and then after you're able to see it like on paper or on a screen, it's like, oh, so I have this problem, this problem, this problem, this problem. It's not just FOMO, it's because of this, and this. And once you can see the underlying effects, then we can start to take action on that stuff, plan a day trip, go somewhere with this friend in 1 month when they're free. Just recognizing the underlying causes for these conditions, whether it's FOMO or depression or whatever it may be, can really help us on finding solutions for the problems. So we're not just focused on problems, we're focused on the solution, we're focused on the opportunity. So that was amazing. And you also mentioned, I want to bring it up real quick because you and me haven't talked about it before, so I'd like to hear a little bit about it. Backpacking in Europe. I don't think you've ever mentioned that to me before. Where did you go?
I mentioned in Clubhouse, but yeah, not in the rooms we've been in so far. So.
Okay, I see. If you don't mind, give me a quick overview. Like, what kind of countries were you in specifically, and what was the experience like? What did you take away from it all?
It's funny. I didn't plan to originally to do it. I lost a job, and so I was kind of lost. It's pre getting my condo, it's pre responsibilities, mortgage is responsibility. And my sister, bless her heart, was very vital for me to be able to do that, backpacking through Europe. I decided originally I was supposed to go with a friend of mine who was visiting me in London. I was a little depressed. She's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go from London to Germany and drive. Would you want to join me?" That immediately lifted my spirits. It's funny how one moment I'm like so in despair and sad and crying, and she changed me in like a few minutes. Sure, okay. I looked at my bank account. I like only have so much money. All right, I'll do it. But then, as I'm planning the trip, she had to cancel on me because her mother got upset that instead of visiting her in LA, she's gonna drive to Germany. What the heck? So that killed my plans, and so I was distraught again. But then I thought, wait a second, what's stopping me again going by myself? Now I've told a few of my close friends, and they're all like, "You're crazy." But I'm thinking, I'm pretty savvy. I can speak other languages. Where can what can I do? So I thought of the other European countries, and I thought of those not in the EU. I thought about being practical. I do a lot of research as one of those type A people, about the exchange rates, what's affordable, and also geographical, like where to go. I did have to change my plans halfway because of a friend, but all the friends I could visit. I worked for a prior job, the director of international sales for a computer software company. Funk Software is no longer in existence, but it was a fun job. I met some amazing people through emails, phone calls, and stuff for my job, and I met up with them. A lot of them I kept in touch with through that trip, as well as friends, old roommates. And I went literally. So I started out London, did Ryanair. There's no Airbnb at that time, so I'm dating myself. I did hostels. I visited friends, and I went through Germany, Poland, Hungary, Italy, Czech Republic, Austria, Switzerland, uh, let me see, Scotland, UK. Yeah. I would have gone to Croatia, except my friends in Venice made me change my plans 1 week up. So I'm very sad that I didn't get to Croatia. Very, very sad. Because it just, in terms of planning, I had a certain plan. And if I went to Croatia after visiting them, I was going to go straight to Switzerland, which didn't make sense, just geography-wise. I'm very methodical that way. And some things change where when I was in Austria, Switzerland, I didn't realize was so expensive, despite all my research, that instead of doing a week there, I ended up just doing 2 days and 1 night. And then I added some days in Switzerland and also Munich and other places, because word of mouth is the best, right? When you're talking to other backpackers. And I'm grateful to the people I met and experiences I've had, because I made 1 or 2 friends that we kept in touch for a few years after that, and we visit each other. And people, and talking to people, I feel that time has made me even more appreciative of people. I just met a woman from Krakow the other day, and her face lit up when I said, I love Krakow. She's just like, "You've been there? That's my hometown." I was like, because first she said she was from Poland. And usually people have gone to Warsaw. I said, no. And then I said, "Where are you from?" And, I wasn't sure of all the towns. She's like, "Krakow." I was like, I love Krakow. Just a joy when you say you've been to someone's place or their hometown or other country, you resonate or you click with them. And I love connecting with people. And I know you do too. So for me on that level, having traveled and met people, I love talking about their food, their country, just their homeland, because every place is beautiful. Every place has wonderful things about it. And I appreciate them so much, as builded me to be the person I am now.
Wow,
for sure.
My gosh, Anna, that's amazing. I'm so happy you got to go on that experience there. Backpacking is, wow, it's intense. I've never done it myself, but I've known a few people who have done it, and they always bring back a lot of incredible stories and experiences, which I'm sure is also true for you. And it's kind of interesting. I want to note this real quick for the audience listening about, going back to the thing of FOMO we touched on before. In your case, you lived in very intensely, the clutches of your parents, in your own words, right? And so you overcorrected on the side of, YOLO. So you were really intense FOMO and then really intense YOLO on the other side. And I think it's true for a lot of people, that's just the flow of life, is that whenever you're too cramped, you go too wide. And that's okay, because eventually stuff gets balanced out. You find some sort of equilibrium for yourself. Looking back at your backpacking days, was there, What were some of the key lessons that you took away from that? Because obviously transitioning from being a backpacker for however long it sounded like it was quite a long time, maybe a few months, it seems like. And so going from backpacking to maybe, I'm not sure what you did next, but I'm assuming it must have been maybe more settled or more stable. What was that?
Bingo.
Yeah, okay. So what adjustments, adjustments. So what was it like for you? Like, what were the lessons you took from the backpacking, and was it difficult to transition back to being settled again?
It was very difficult to be settled again, but I think at that time I had a greater sense of self-purpose, confidence in myself. The fact that it was people nowadays travel with their iPhone, or gadgets and Google. I did not have that. I did not have that access. That did not exist. So I was pre Google Maps, pre all these apps. I had to use good old maps. I tore up 3 or 4 books. I had paper. And it makes me sad that people can't read maps, but that's just another comment entirely. Also, just being even more open-minded to other people, being good on a budget, and also learning checks and balances. Like, because I'm on a budget, I can't be having expensive meals, but I can have a quality meal from the local market, from the supermarket. I was very satisfied having the local cheese, ham mixed sandwich, the local chips. I'm all about chips and like snack foods. It's really unhealthy, but I always look at the chips aisle in every country, in every supermarket. If you haven't checked out, I have a lot of chips on my Instagram, but I just like food, and just food in all its forms, and meeting people and talking about food. I had some great food suggestions sometimes from strangers. I've tried different foods because of articles or just conversations. And budgeting, like I learned, the budgeting part was interesting. I also learned that I could exercise and lose weight and still eat what I wanted to eat, because being in Europe, you do have a different sense of portion, and you have different sense of how do you live your life and quality of life. It made me realize that they do enjoy. We work a little too hard in America, in the sense of we're not sitting back and enjoying. In Italy, I had my first Italian leisurely meal. Like, it took 6 hours or something, seriously, from start to aperitivo and all the different courses, and also to the end. And I have to thank the reseller who I'm still in touch with, who's a friend of mine. It was our first time meeting, and he, bless his heart, Giorgio, was amazing, taking care of me, and the couple in Switzerland taking care of me as well, in Zurich, meeting me and driving out 1 hour just to hang out with me, have lunch, and all those friends I made from my prior jobs, meeting up with me, were so kind and generous and warm. Makes me feel my heart full, and I want to pay it forward. I think whenever I see people struggling or not knowing doing things, I feel that my lesson was to pay it forward, to help them, whether if they need their photo taken, if they can't do it, whether they look lost and I can speak their language. I've done it many times. I'll be like, I'll say in Mandarin, I'll say in even Korean, I'll say in Cantonese, I'll say in Spanish. I've helped many people, or give recommendations on what to do if I'm on the subway and they're looking at something, and I'll say, I'll say, you should go here, or you should try this. And yes, I'm that nosy person who's a local who'll notice that, but then I generally, otherwise don't. Us Northeast people are known to be kind of cold or not that friendly, but I'm told I'm a little bit more on the friendlier side than the typical New Englander. But yeah, those are just a few things that pop up on my mind.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome, Anna. That's really, really cool. Yeah, obviously during a time of COVID right now, it's hard to imagine people doing it just at the moment. But, as you said a few minutes ago, stuff will open up again, and this kind of adventures will be possible again. And so, I think that, again, back to what I mentioned before about not a problem, but an opportunity, now is a great time for people to be preparing and in preparation, whether it's saving money or doing research or booking hotels for a year later, flight tickets for a year later. Even right now in a lockdown, you can still be doing preparation and planning for like the next vacation, the next trip, whatever it may be, because, to your point, getting out of your home country or hometown, getting around the world, different people, different food, like it just changes you in ways that cannot be fully expressed with words, right? And you've mentioned some specifics for us, that definitely changed for you. But there's something different about people when they come back from traveling. And I've seen that happen firsthand with some of my students who have went overseas and then came back to Korea. And I meet them again, I'm like, you're not the same person in a good way. Something changes about the experience for people. Now, you mentioned also about people travel these days with their phones. albums, but I also know that you're someone who does a lot of documentation as far as pictures and scrapbooking and writing snail mail to people and such like that. When did
Yes.
that become part of the picture? Was that before the backpacking? Was that during the backpacking? Like, when did scrapbooking and documentation become important for you?
Backpacking, wow. Documentation came before that. I was the historian amongst my friends. When I had my snap and shoot Kodak in high school and elementary school, I just didn't look back. I was willing to take pictures, and when I developed them, of course, I'm aging myself saying this, but I developed them. I'd always have to get the double prints and get it on sale. And in college, just to save money to do it more economically, I would mail it away, so to even cost be cheaper than the local pharmacy. So my friends would always be like, "Ugh, again, you want a picture?" And now, mind you, this is pre-digital, so you don't know what the photo's going to look like. It's going to be blurry if your finger's in the way in the shutter. You're going to have a bunch of pictures that are black. Like, I remember I went on a trip to New York and with school classmates. That was a rare trip because that was another story entirely. And I took a bunch of pictures from the top of the Empire States Building, not knowing none of the pictures would come out because your regular point and shoot is not a DSLR by any means, will not come out, be all black. And I have like 2 rolls of like all black pictures. I'm thinking, oh my God, I paid what for this? It's nothing. So yeah, that part of me for a long time before digital came, and it did come, I didn't want to get digital because I like the surprise. And I was a holdout for a long time. I have to thank my boss for getting me my first digital camera. And because of him, I have not looked back. But yeah, I think documentation's always been in my blood since I think my first Kodak camera, point and shoot. And I have a lot of memories. I'm very sentimental, as I mentioned earlier, and I would scrapbook at that time. I have a lot of scrapbooks from high school and in college. It's well documented. In fact, my friends would read it and they'll look, and instead of putting, I'll just put my name there, and they'll look at it and they'll laugh like, "Don't you know your own name?" And I said, I'm thinking forward. I'm thinking, well, whoever looks at this, maybe I'm not around to say that's me. So I'm thinking forward thinking. And I already know that because right now, my current situation, I don't have any immediate family who wants my hoard of scrapbooks, photo albums, which are my treasures, but not to them. And my sister doesn't want it. My brother doesn't want it. And my parents, they're just saying, "Why do you have them?" But they can't do anything about it. So I know my college will have archives, and they do take personal students or even alumni's archives. And actually, my college photo albums during those years, they don't have anything. On top of that, they don't have anything for people of color experience in the college. So it's like a twofer. They get my personal experience, but they also get stuff from the time period for people of color, like my time as in the Asian Student Club, the president, different capacities at my time at college at that time. So they're pretty excited. So I tell my sister my wishes about that. So she won't be stuck with it. And I think it'll be appreciated by someone who wants to do research when I was in college at that time, or see my memories. We'll see. But I'm just glad that I can do that. But yes, I love scrapbooking. I love how it makes me feel. I love how I get postcards. So I send postcards to my friends. I used to mail it straight from the place, and then now I kind of mail them with Christmas cards now, just because it gets expensive. And since I figure, well, I'm the one who's extending the money, I'll just put a pile. I calculated, you can get a bunch of postcards with one Christmas card, whereas if you mail one, it's the cost of one card to mail out nowadays. Like international, it's the same price. It's not different prices anymore. So I'm thinking, why am I doing that to myself? Cost-wise, I'm being economical, but also being practical. And I think my friends like the postcards, or I like to think they do. And also just sending the mail. Especially through the pandemic, I felt that through last year, a lot of people have come through the woodworks that I don't usually talk on a daily basis. Like, thank you so much for your cards over the years. Or thank you so much, my kids actually know your handwriting. You're the only person that sends mail. Or thank you so much for sending a card or a tiding. No one even does that anymore. So I guess I stand out. I have a lot of friends, not more than one, that have said that to me. And it makes me, not gonna lie, feel, like I said earlier about feeling selfish a little bit, that good feeling I get makes me happy, because at least the joy that I feel I have writing it, they get from it, makes me happy.
Oh my gosh, Anna, there was so much there. It was a roller coaster of emotions listening, because Yeah, the first thing, like right off the bat, like those cameras, that you had to develop later on. Yeah,
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
in the age range that can remember doing that myself. Where I got the photos back, I was like, oh, I was covering up the
Right.
shutter, so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know
You're just like,
exactly what you're talking
"Hey,
about.
glue."
And it's funny because actually
Uh,
nowadays we have filters on social media that try to replicate that. And it's like, oh, we did that by accident back in the day.
I know, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
And stuff has changed. Stuff has seriously changed. Even my mom was telling me yesterday because she's also someone who likes to print her photos that she'll take. And she was telling me that nowadays the photo printing companies, I think it's Snapfish specifically, but I could be wrong, which used to
Yeah.
charge like
That's
10
correct.
seconds or 15 seconds. I'm sorry, 10 cents or 15 cents for a photo. She said nowadays it's free to get the photos. You just have to pay for the shipping because like it's not worth it. People aren't printing photos anymore. So it's silly for them to charge 10 cents or 5 cents for a photograph. That just you pay for the shipping and they'll give them to you. So stuff has definitely changed with digital cameras and digital media.
Mm.
And Anna, I love everything you said about documentation. I think it's I was getting excited when you talked about how your school doesn't have any photos from that era because that is such a
Yes.
cool, that you can't plan that. You can't plan that. It's just amazing that it worked
Nope.
out that way. And I am really big on documentation because for me, as a creative in the creative circle, I'm surrounded by musicians and artists, right? And so many of us are focused on what are we creating, thinking music's what I create. But I'm thankful enough to have learned from others that documentation is also creation. And I think that a lot of
Yes.
people don't recognize that or don't understand that. Or another big one that happens is think that my life's not interesting, so no one else wants to hear about it, which is, not true. We all have unique lives and unique visions and perspectives, and that's why documentation is important. We're sharing stories that we don't know about. Just because it's normal to you, it's different for someone else. It's interesting for someone else.
Exactly.
And so I would love it if you
Exactly.
could talk to a little bit more to all of the content creators out there, fashion designers, musicians, visual artists, graphic designers, etc. Why is documentation so important?
Oh my gosh. I think documentation is very important. It's leaving your footprint in the world. As you were just mentioning, everyone has a gift, an environment, like a situation that not everyone else does not have. I think leaving that journey that you have or what you're doing is so vital because it gives later on for others who want to know, whether it's your loved ones, whether it's a community, whether it's those who are getting to know you or what you do. It's just amazing to have that. And also for yourself to do a retrospective. My favorite thing is to go to art exhibits or go to fashion things or go to other things to see retrospectives, whether in a book, whether in an exhibit. I think those are amazing. But if you don't document, you won't be able to do that, to see the journey of someone doing what they do or doing what they love. Um, you see the growth, you see what influences they had. For me, I think it's amazing. Same thing. I find that the more that I'm in this world, the more that I interact with people, the more that whether culture, language, plays, art, you have all these factors that influence you, and to see that documented in terms of what you do or what you have or what your product is, it's just amazing. I think it becomes your voice, it becomes who you are in terms of what you decide or output you put in. Like, say, someone, like we were talking earlier about traveling, say a cook is deciding to travel. He only knows a certain cuisine. He went to school for certain foods, but kind of just Anthony Bourdain going to Asia, going beyond, loving Vietnamese food, Japanese food, and going to the other countries. He did for his TV show. He opened the world for a lot of people. They wouldn't know about their foods or their culture, and I thank him for that because visually we're able to see that, and in video we're able to see that. Bless his heart, may rest in peace. One of the people I loved and adored his books and what he did. I'm glad he documented. I'm glad he did that because we wouldn't have what he had and the journeys and travels. But also too, for myself, just looking through my journey, looking back at my college years and looking back what I did a lot of stuff. Oh my gosh. Or the things or activities. I have a lot of friends who I have who are very studious in their life and doing what they need to do, family life and whatnot, but they're joking around saying FOMO to me because I'm doing YOLO. And I said, well, every day is important, every day is a gift. And that's a quote that I found one day from a young cancer patient. It's true, every day is a gift. you know when I have those who pass away or are close to me die, and they're before their time, I'm thinking, your time is not finite, whether it's illness, whether, other factors. you should embrace it and do what you need to do and do what you feel is right. And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to express. Don't be afraid to share. Because that right there is amazing. With what your thoughts or your feelings and your love for others, because that will show in the product you're putting out, right? In your authenticity and what you're doing. I think back all those artists who are no longer here with us. Thank God for their documentation. Thank God for their albums or their dance pieces or their videos or their paintings or photography. Because of that, we're able to see what they did. I mean, documentation, think back even the hieroglyphics for the Egyptians or even the, 1,000-year civilizations. They didn't document. We wouldn't have the history or understand ourselves with the, uh, things going on right now in life or world, whether government or language. I appreciate that we have documentation. To me, it's utmost important. And I hope that people don't shy away of documentation. I hope people don't shy away of whether or not they want to put that footprint in this world, this life, in to share. Whether nowadays it's easier with social media, but I am a little bit old school with the paper and stuff. I need to probably transition, but still, I feel that it's important.
Wow. Wow, Anna, that's really, really, really powerful words there. That's definitely gonna make it to social media. I gotta cut that clip up and share it because it's a message we all need to hear. Like you said, there's so many incredible individuals, lights on this world that have changed the direction of the world for all people, and myself, and for yourself. And it's thanks to the writings, the things they wrote, the pictures they took, the videos people took of them. They're able to live on. Their impact is not stuck in their era. Their impact is timeless now. It lives on forever, right? Whether it's videos of Martin Luther King, or whether it's writings of Bruce Lee, or photographs of the burning monk. Like, there's so many incredible pieces of media that have transcended time because we were able to document them. And so for us to be selfish and say, my life's not interesting, what about your kids? What about your grandkids? What about your mother and father?
Exactly.
You have no idea, and you can't judge for them what people want to see from you. And so I'm so thankful to have this podcast as well, because I've been able to document encounters, conversations of words and phrases from people, and it's been incredible to see what those individuals have gone on to do with their lives, months later or years later. So yeah, I completely agree with everything that you said. It's absolutely amazing. Thank you, Anna. Okay, Anna, so, looking back, like you said, you've done a lot of stuff, and it's been cool to kind of lightly touch on we didn't get to go super deep into it, because that would take, weeks or months to get all the details out. But, looking back at some of the major points of your life, it brings us to where you are right now. Before the recording started, you mentioned to me there's a few ideas you kind of toss around your mind right now. If you don't mind giving us some insight, what are some of the things you're looking at doing, both, in the near future, basically, and maybe even in the far future, some of the stuff you're looking towards and working on?
I've had people for years say this to me back as early as 2002, 2003, say you should have a podcast. And to this day, have I had a podcast? No. Analysis paralysis. Oh, I don't have the tech. Oh, I don't this and that. I think eventually I would like to have one. I definitely, the more and more I think about it, but I think there's some things I need to accomplish first. To make space for that activity, because I know once I put my mind into it, I'm going to put all in. And right now, there are other things I need to put all in first before that can happen. But I've definitely been wrestling, and it seems like everybody I've talked to seem very supportive and very awesome about it. And I guess I think I might have what it takes to do it. I think high praise by one friend is, and she's not a foodie. I love to eat, if you haven't figured that out. She said to me, she eats to live, not lives to eat like I do. And I always talk to her about food. And so the highest compliment I got from her was, Anna, I have to say, when you talk about food, I want to try it or eat it. But I have a coworker who's just as enthusiastic, who is very skilled, a very good cook. But whenever he talks about food, even though he's not lacking enthusiasm, there's something about the way he talks about it that doesn't make me want to eat, or doesn't have that enthusiasm. And it's not to say he doesn't have it. It's just it's not the approach, or maybe not the way he says it. So I thought it was kind of funny, but I also thought that was a win when I heard that from her, because it's one thing when you have friends who love to eat and they're very supportive. and telling you stuff that you're like, oh, but you're my friend, right? But oh, you know me very well, so of course. But then when you have people who are not close to you or don't know you as well saying that they'll listen to you, it's like, okay, I guess I do have a foundation. I do have people who'd be interested. So, I mean, Clubhouse is definitely one that I've had a few people tell me they'd be interested. So I can't wait to do it. It's definitely down the road. It's something interesting to me. And I do, still do my Instagram posts, here and there when I can. And, I do tweet. But I think that would be my big outlet beyond my restaurant reviews that I do right now.
Amazing. And actually, talking about restaurant reviews, we did have a question from the audience. I'm going to pull it up real quick. Someone that you and me are both familiar with, Roger from Clubhouse, who is an amazing person in his own right. He had a question for you. He said, what inspired you to get into writing about food? And so I guess to curtail off of that mention about doing restaurant reviews, what did inspire you to get to talk about food, Anna?
I always took pictures of my food, even when before digital. So when people take, being Asian, maybe taking foods, it started back then. And writing about foods, when Blogger or blog post, I think whenever that came out, I had my own defunct blogs of food reviews, and I just loved it. I mean, I think when I finally had my meals that were non-Chinese, because I'm Chinese American, and there were other ethnicities in college, it blew my mind about food, that I was like, wow, this is amazing. I want to share this, or I want to document for myself to remember. And so I would make posts about food. And in my kind of defunct blog right now, I'd write about food or videos or movies that really move me. And then naturally, I think back in 2009 or 2010, I wanted to write locally. And so I made a very concerted effort to think of my screen name, A Food Aficionado, because I thought that would be my brand name, right? And I thought, why? Why would I want a name? I want it easy. It's not too easy, but it also tells you what I am without telling you needing details. So I'm not mired by any or restricted by any topic, food, not by any ethnicity, not by any price point. It just shows I just love food. And I loved aficionado. I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. So that's why I go with food aficionado. So that's how that happened. It's just the love of food, the love of wanting to share for myself first. And then since there's social platforms to share it, I'm like, sure, why not? And I did. And so that's why the opportunity to write for the local Chinese, English publication, it just fell in my lap after I decided to have the moniker Food Aficionado. I've been writing for them now for a while. They're a great publication, a community publication. I didn't realize how proud my mom was of me, because she can read it in Chinese, and I don't translate the Chinese part. So she just is so proud. But she never shared before, because she's a very typical Asian parent. They don't tell you to your face they're proud of you. You hear from other people. So I'd hear from her friend, oh, your mom is very good about picking it up when she comes out, and then her friends, her cronies will tell me, oh, we always wait for your issues. And so I didn't know that, but that's, typical Asian parent not telling it to your face. You have to find out from their friends. But it makes me happy that I can do content that my mom can read. And just recently, my most recent review, my dad's all like, so, A coffee, huh? Is that good? Vietnamese A coffee? Have you had it? It's like, well, duh, Dad, I had it. That's why I wrote about it, So, but it's hilarious that my dad will say, oh, so hey, you wrote about the Filipino food. Was that good? So it's funny how he'll ask me, was it really that good? It's kind of nice to have that.
Oh, it's amazing. Anna, this has been an incredible conversation. I don't want to keep you for too long, and I really appreciate you making time for it. I do always do one last thing with the guests. We do a speed round. I'll ask a very quick question. Just give a very quick response. So you ready?
Okay.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Favorite color?
Red.
Favorite food? Oh shit! That's gonna be what?
Okay, sushi.
Sushi. Okay. Favorite day of the week.
That's hard.
I said it. I was like, oh wait a minute. I'm asking Anna. I was like, just putting on the spot with that one. Favorite day of the week.
Friday.
Favorite movie.
Eat, Drink, Man, Woman.
Favorite song at the moment.
Pampyeonji, Through the Night, IU.
What leisure activities do you enjoy?
Reading, Clubhouse, and just eating.
What countries do you want to visit or visit again?
Korea, Australia, Croatia, Italy.
What languages do you speak?
English, Cantonese, Mandarin, Spanish, Japanese, Korean.
Name one person alive or dead that you want to have a conversation with.
Oh, I never thought of that. Julia Childs.
Okay, and the very last question, how do you want people to think of you?
That their life was brightened by knowing me.
All right, very good. My gosh, Anna, that was an incredible conversation. Thank you for being open, sharing everything you did. Is there anything you want to say in closing? Anything we didn't get to cover?
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. It's always amazing to chat with you, Ben, but also to that everyone is a bright light in this world. Don't let anyone make you think otherwise, even those who are close to and love you, because you are an amazing person. You're an amazing presence. You are needed. You are loved. And even though when you don't feel like it, you are. And sometimes, like just yesterday, I got a package from my 동생 in Korea, and bless her heart, like just little things like that make me happy, like, or just a card or a note. It doesn't have to be a package, but that love, the care, the time, it resonates, makes me so warms my heart. And just having conversations with you and amazing people on Clubhouse warms my heart, kept me sane through this pandemic. So if you guys are not on Clubhouse, you're crazy not to be on it. Now you don't need an invite, so please join, and definitely make sure you join Ben Jaye's room and the soda shop, because that's an amazing club.
Oh my gosh. Everyone, as you could tell from the episode today, Anna is a true creative individual. Whether it's being creative in life with the conversations that she has, the insight she shares, or the pictures of food, the pictures of the city. She's a creative individual, and she's sharing so much value in conversation, on social media, Clubhouse, everywhere. So I really encourage you guys to follow her account, but even more so to interact with her, especially on Clubhouse, because she's someone who goes out of her way to make time to talk with people and to have actual conversations with them. A genuinely true creative spirit, a beautiful individual, and someone who I love very much. So please follow and support her on her journey. Everyone, I thank you for watching the episode today, and I will see you in the next episode. Take care and have a great night. Oh my gosh, Anna, thank you for doing that. That was incredible. How do you feel?